Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday training. We will get right into it in a second. We have a topic today which I could have talked with you for 5 days about, with various angles to it. And I'm going to share something with you that is just one little topic of what we had in a whole year program actually. We called it a Become a Master Communicator, and went on for 10, 15 years or so, combining with weekly lessons and self-studies and a 3-day program down here at Costa del Sol where I live. Until COVID happened, we had that every year. Now we're going to just have a little taste of some of the things we discussed in addition to lots of other stuff, but this comes from a background that I had in sales and leadership on the corporate top level for many, many years. Many years, 20, 25 years as an entrepreneur and self-employed. And so it's based on a lot of experience. It's also based on a lot of great teachings from Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield and many others. So I'm just going to give you a little taste of it today because I think it could be useful for you to understand some of it in order to do your job better as a silly member. If you have the intention of building the business and communicating this great opportunity to people. Now, well, let's start with a little PowerPoint here, and I'll see if I can get you started. It's always good to have a few things to hang it on. Let me see. Always exciting to see if this works. Here we go. And maybe Morten can give me a thumbs up if you can see the. Very good, thank you. So you remember this from the last few weeks or a few months that we have talked about the process that we're working with, and we will be showing this every once in a while. But I want you to just lean into this. I'm not going to go through this again. We have done calls on that before. They are stored now, and they are getting stored. All these calls on our new website that Morten has so well put together. So there's a lot of content there. But remember, our job, if we want to build this business, is to find people and contact them and say something that creates their interest. Now, if they're interested, they're easier to invite, and you invite them into an education to look at an opportunity, right? We're just suggesting that people would like to, if they would like to look at our opportunity to see if this is something for them, and if they find it interesting, if you manage to pique their interest there when communicating with them, like Morten illustrated last week what he did or what he does. We all do it a little bit differently, but we follow this process. We invite people, and then I suggest, as we talked about last time, that Alcetea did so well with her newest signing. She created interest, invited him to have a look. When they said yes, she said, okay. She pointed to a presentation. She didn't need to know, although I know she knows, but she didn't need to know. It's actually better to point to a tool and give them a video to see the presentation than to do the presentation yourself. Why? Because if you point to a tool, everybody can put their finger on play, right? So if they experience that they get a video to watch, they automatically, consciously or subconsciously, they automatically would know that they also can do that. But if you give a brilliant presentation yourself every time, that could be a bottleneck for them, right? A kind of an obstacle for them to want to do the business. Why? Because they thought you were so brilliant. So that's why I always suggest point to the presentation and agree a follow-up shortly after they have seen it. So when can you take half an hour? And they say, well, I can do that tonight. Great. Can we agree a follow-up call tomorrow then? So that I can understand your impressions from the video and what kind of questions you have, so we can answer them, and that should be it. Then you should have enough to make an educated decision. Okay, so if we do that, then they come back. You may have your upline then with a three-way call until you feel comfortable yourself to answer all the questions, because there are some common questions, 6, 7, 8 of them, that you get every time, one or several, and it's up to you to then just answer it. But if you don't feel comfortable in the beginning, then bring an upline to do the three-way call with you, and then they make a decision, right? So that's the process we work with, and Alcetea did this brilliantly. The guy, the prospect that she had, went through the process. He bought a so-called C3 package to start with. He will upgrade that with a bigger pack within the next 30 days, and then be qualified, paid C5 for another 3 months. And so now it's going to be a follow-up after that again to get them started, right? That's the process we use. Now, we also went through this matrix, and this is the matrix where you choose what kind of role you want to have in this. Now, using Alcetea's example again, she did not look for customers, right? She wanted to build a business, and her goals are bigger than that, right? Of course, if you come across a person who needs the product, obviously needs the product, then of course that could be the thing that creates their interest in looking at the whole picture. But she was looking for leaders, people to get into this and build it and recruit and train other people, etc. Now, the approach then would be a little different. She didn't just talk about products. It could be that was used in the introduction just to get their interest, but quickly went over to talk about have a conversation with them, what kind of life they want to have. If they want to have time and money freedom, which most people want to have fun and make a difference for a lot of people, this could be an idea. Would you like to, spend an hour or two over the next few days to have a look at it, so that you can make an educated decision? You see, now the whole thing is about the opportunity, which includes the products, but it's not just about products and technologies. The products and technologies will definitely be a part of the presentation, but on the more overview. Then, if it is a person who is genuinely interested in products, technologies, for example, a health professional who wants to hear all the ingredients and so on and so forth, then you may want to go a little deeper on the follow-up, right? But if you start with that, then it will take a long time to build a business. It will take a longer time anyway. Because if you start with looking for leaders, not that many of them that you meet will want to be that, but it's a bigger chance that they become salespeople, and worst case is that they become customers if you start that way. If you start with the detailed product ingredients without moving them from there to looking at the whole opportunity, then you will forever look for customers, which is okay, but it limits your income results. Okay, that's how far we got last time. Now, today we want to look a little bit at this. Personality types. Now, there are many of these out there, and this is the one I took 25, 30 years ago the first time. You can take tests on this and go very deep, find out exactly where in this matrix you are. But I don't think that's necessary, just to use a few of these things. Be aware of a few of these things when you meet a person. We call them controllers up here to the left, if this would be a typical characteristic of the person you talk to. So now first, let's look at this one-on-one. If you want to have a conversation with one person at a time, which I always preferred, then you can talk to that person and see clearly what kind of person, or indicate at least what kind of person that is, what kind of personality type. However, if you hold a presentation, it could be a good thing to think about having something to tell to each and every one, because in the audience you will have all kinds of people, right? You will have 4 different distinctive types. So the controller here is a typical characteristic of that person would be that they want to solve tasks. They will always strive for success. They're fast decision makers, dynamic, forward-looking, like challenges, self-motivated. You don't usually have to force them to work. They are disciplined. They do things. They're focused on the bottom line. This is a typical leadership type of person. And if I would use myself as an example, when I took this test, I ended up in the middle of this square. I was a typical controller with a good portion of analytic in me. Now, how can I say that? Well, we will all have some of the characteristics from each quadrant. So a controller will also be having a little bit of the analytical person in them. I had a good portion of that, and this is what characterizes this person. They're usually careful. They need to define things. They need to clarify all the details, etc. They want to analyze every single thing before they go in. If you meet a health professional who also is a dominant analyzer type of person, you can go on forever before they make a decision. There's no right or wrong or bad or good. It's just the way it is, right? They need a lot of data, a lot of information. They want to test things. They want to try things. They want to try the products on themselves. They want to do all kinds of things before if they ever get to a decision. Now, it's not so that this cannot be a distributor or member in network marketing, but you will not have that many of them in network marketing. This is not a typical profile that go in there. They will typically, if they join, most of them would, if they're very strong analyzer up here to the right, then they would take some time before they get going. Okay, but then you have the promoter, and you have lots of those in our business. They want to have fun. They are visionaries. They want to see the big picture. They want to be creative, colorful, expressive. They will be very relationship oriented, motivating others, high energy. Morten Dam is here, mainly dominant there, but with a good portion of both controller and the last one here, supporter. Supporter is typically my wife. She if there was a way to make people feel good, she would find it, right? She's the Florence Nightingale profile of us. You have a lot of nurses who fit into this character because they're dedicated, committed, they're easy to get along with. These are the perfect people to have in the door, receiving the tickets when people enter and wish people welcome, make them feel good, feel comfortable, etc. when you have a presentation, for example, a live presentation or a Zoom presentation. And they are loyal team members, good listeners, stable, ready, steady, great at administrating, orchestrating, organizing things. They're patient, they have compassion for other people, etc. Now, you can depend on the supporter to do a really good job in network marketing. And just because you are that profile doesn't mean that you can go to the top. Angelica, my wife, was one of the world's top 5, top 10 distributors for a while in her first company, right? So any person here can get to the top, depending on how you utilize these different things. Now, when you look at this, we could go so deep in this, but now we're going to just touch it. You have limited time. But if you look at the controller analytical, that's typical me, right? Control driven. I want to know, I want to have control, I want to have a process, I want to have that. We're also very goal oriented, goal driven, which also the promoters are. It is seldom that you find a person 50-50 controller supporter, but I have a pretty good part of me that is in supporter. Now, analytical supporter are safety driven. These two down here, promoter, supporter, are more relationship driven. So if you communicate to a controller, you don't want to go too deep in the details. Promoters also don't like too much detail. But if you go to them, you wanna make sure that you say that. For example, when I talk with people, I would always say that I didn't start this to be bored. I want to have fun. I want to make a difference for people. So fun goes into promoters. If I want to make a difference for a lot of people in the world and help people get better and etc., that hits the supporter type. If I want to say that this is the timing of this opportunity is incredible, I will hit the controller, right? And if you meet an analyzer, well, you just give them a website or 10 to read while you do something else, right? So the optimal thing, if I took this test was 9 years ago or something, and then I took it again 3-4 years later when I was the top level of the first company I was in. And what happened is what should happen and needs to happen if you want to go all the way to the top, to the highest ranks. If you start, no matter where you start in these 4 quadrants, you would want to work so that you can learn to act from the center, right? You want to know, you have your dominant. For example, I have my dominant place in the controller, in the middle of this here, with a dominant controller, a good portion of analytic. I want to have some fun, so I'm also a little bit promoter, but not like Morten Dam and Gavida. They're more promoters than I am. And a little bit supported, but I want to be, and I am skill-wise now. I'm in the middle, and I can go and talk with controller personalities. I can talk with analyticals. I can talk with promoters, and I can tell them exactly what they want to hear because I act from the center. I understand where they come from most of the time, at least. Okay, let's go quickly through this. Not going to go in detail, but in network marketing, you typically, well, they say, those who did this years ago, I don't think it has changed that much, that you would find most people in the world divided into this. You find most 35% promoters, security-driven people, supporters. You find the analytics, you find the controllers. And some of these things motivates a personality type like that. Both of these down here want social acceptance and security and are relationship driven, etc. Recognition is important for promoters. They want to be accepted, right? They like to be with people. They need a big picture. They need excitement. Special bonuses and incentive programs are really, they jump on that right away, right? So I'll give you this later to study. And well, before we do that, we can also just mention that if you have, let's go to here. If you have this picture and you have various type of people, it will often determine how you communicate the messages to them. Because if you, for example, let me give you a couple of examples. If I would talk to my wife and have her join me in the business, I would talk about how these products change the lives of people. I will talk about not only does it change your life, but you can build a business with these with these products, right? You can meet a lot of people and get a lot of friends all over the world. You can help them, you can support them, and etc. etc. That's typical of a supporter. Now, if I met a promoter like my friend in Stockholm, for example, that I started business with in network marketing many years ago, the first business I had, then he was kind of funny because he was a super promoter, but also a good portion of controller. So I said, I thought I could get him to go with me to Paris to an event. It was a European event just after we started, and he said, "Oh, that sounds boring." Right? He's a super promoter, so "Oh, that's boring. We're gonna sit in a room for a whole day, 2 days in a row, with speech after speech. What's the fun in that?" So I let it be a little bit, and then I said to him, "Hey, listen. Imagine Paris in May. First outdoor beer, maybe sitting on the Champs-Élysées, looking at all the beautiful women go walking up and down the street, and there are going to be parties every evening. You're going to meet a lot of new friends all over the world, all over Europe at least." He said, right? Because I talked with him about what he wanted to hear. And that's what communication and discovery is all about. Asking questions, listening to the person, finding out what they want. If they want to solve a problem, if they want to achieve a dream or a goal that they have, then we can look them in their eyes and tell them exactly what they want to hear, the way they want to hear it, right? And then communicate the message as a solution that might help them. And if they think that, if they hear you, then they will say, "Well, that sounds really interesting." And say, "Okay, how about spending an hour or two over the next few days just to have a look? Just have a look, and then we'll see." And if they say yes, well, then you can point to a video. For example, the business presentation that I have now on the website that also Tia used. It's a 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, I think, video that touches on different things. And then when they agree to see that, ask when. And then if you can reserve or book a meeting with them right afterwards, where they can get all the questions answered, and in the shortest possible time, you will be able to make an educated decision. What do you think? Right? So that is shortly a little bit about that. Okay, what about the three-way call then in this picture? Well, the three-way call is really valuable in this because you may not have the same personality or characteristic as the one you talk to, right? Or it could be that they want to have a bigger picture, depending on which characteristics they have. They can get the bigger picture. They can learn how. Remember how the supporters and the analytics need to be safety driven, right? They need to be taken care of. They want to know that they are part of a team, that they get help and support when starting this business. And you can show them that by inviting a third person for credibility and for sharing the product and their business story, which could be different than yours, and to help you answer questions. And when you do that, invite your upline to do that, but sit ready with pen and paper and take notes. Take notes of everything you learn from that conversation. Your role then is to not say anything unless you are asked by your mentor or upline or the prospect directly to answer something. This is a learning process for you as much as a business building process, right? So the goal of that is to get you up and running as soon as possible so that you can help others again. So this also demonstrates the support that you are giving or that we are giving to people in this business. And therefore, they will understand that you are in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. You're part of a team. And that speaks to promoters, that speaks to supporters. It makes the analytic be more assured that they are safe in this environment. And it gives the controller a pretty good view too of how to build the business. Okay, so there we are. When we do this, right? We start with a lot of people that we prospect, and we don't prejudge. We suggest that you let people decide for themselves if they want to do this or not. We sift and sort like a gold digger in the river, shifting, sorting, taking away the sand to find the gold nuggets. That's what we do. And we look for people who want to have what we want or what we have. You can give them a preview, a few words about it, but then point to a tool. I strongly suggest that you use tools to present and not wait only for you can also use the live presentation. Morten and Marianne has something good going now in Denmark, for example. That's a live presentation every once in a while, but you don't wait for that. In the meantime, between these presentations, let them see a video, right? Let them be prepared for that live presentation then. Then you follow up, as we said, with a three-way call, answer all the questions, give credibility, and out comes different people. Now, if 10 people, let's say 100 people are taken through this funnel or this process, then you will probably end up with 70 of them. 7 out of 10 says, no, I don't want to have anything to do with it, right? That's just the way it is. But you know, as a baseball player once said in the US, when they go up to the plate and they try to hit that ball, they have 3 attempts. They miss 7 out of 10 times. But those who are so good that they only miss 7 out of 10, they earn millions every year because very few people in the world are able to do that. So think about that. Don't get depressed if somebody says no to everything, because probably 7 out of 10 will say no. Now, out of the last 3, 1 will become a customer, 1 will maybe recommend the products and technologies to other people and become a salesperson, and 1 may become a leader, and 1 who wants to do a little more. That's just the way it is, just the way the numbers are. So if they don't want to do it, ask for a referral, right? Ask, who do you know who might benefit from these products or this opportunity? Then point to another tool. If they're not ready to make a decision yet, point to another tool. If they say yes, well, then we sign them up and we get them started. And that's what we do. And that's why the new website is in place, to help you get people started also, because when you're a member, you can also join the webpage and get all the videos from all the trainings. So you don't need to do all the training. Most of it is already there, and there will be more and more and more coming. And that's what we do, person after person after person, because a big business is a few simple actions. It's not complicated. Few simple actions duplicated by a large number of people on a consistent basis, over and over and over again. And then we repeat the whole thing. So that, my friends, was the English version for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We will now have a break and then move over to the Swedish version.